Good day, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good Thursday. Attorney Greg Lake, welcome to the Theogenic Esquire YouTube channel and podcast. Glad those who are here could make it today. I hope my internet does well today. In full disclosure, we have some construction going on downstairs, and just earlier I have a Starlink satellite receiver, and the workers had accidentally putting stuff on top of it or whatever, but I went and told them, so it should be good. But if we get kicked off, I'll do my best to rehabilitate, recoup. But otherwise, we should be good. I think my connection's been good today here in the National Forest. I really enjoying this new setup. I was hoping today to be able to open up the back windows because it is a very beautiful mountain view back there. But it just, the lighting, it was real bright and you can't really see anything out there. So maybe we'll get an overcast day one day and be able to show that to y'all. I would like that. But anyways, we're going to do it. And again, I kind of set, I probably should have looked into it before I set this thing at 2:30 today. That was really my intention in making it during the day. But I was hoping as the sun was coming across that it would like hit a point to where, oh, maybe they'll be able to see outside. But yeah, we never got there, but that's okay. I think it'll work regardless. Oh, thank you, Lizard. Yeah, I just want to say what's up to my people. Lizard, Moonchild, how you doing? And we have one more real quick. Who else here? Oh, Debbie, how you doing, Debbie? Good to see y'all here. Yeah, thank y'all for coming. So today we are going to be looking in, and I promise. I know last night Barron kind of jumped into similar issues, and I promise it was just kind of by coincidence. He's really looking at the people, the actors in and around the event at the time. And so I'm kind of doing the same thing now. From here moving forward, like I've got a few different content concepts that we're going to be working on, but today's kind of kicking off looking at contemporaneous witness statements. So that means, witness statements made in and around the time of the incident. And I'm going to talk in just a second about, we have seen some of those. Some of them look like, maybe crisis, a lot of people propose crisis actors, stuff like that. And then, some have been genuine. And to the best of my knowledge, there's at least been allegations that some witness statements have been suppressed, things of that nature. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But yeah, we're going to be looking at, yesterday I was actually on X, and who was it? I think it's Scout07 or Scout7 is a profile that I'm following. They're following me, and posted a video. And I'm going to admit, and we're going to see it today, like when I first saw this video, the characters involved, oh, Debbie got a membership. Thank you very much. I think you might be the first member. I will check into that and let you know. Thank you very much. That fills my heart. And I do have some really cool stuff lined up for the members. Cheers. Yeah. I'm going to have some cool stuff lined up for my memberships. Some even more in-depth content, obviously a lot more personalized with me, stuff like that. And real quick, if y'all hear construction sounds, I do apologize. Last time I was out there actually in my little nook in a more open area they were working, y'all didn't really hear it. So, but sometimes when they're loud, it I don't know, what would you say? It distracts me for just a second. So if that happens, I'll be right back. I'll rehabilitate myself. How about that? Back to where I was. So yeah, we're going to be looking at these witness statements. What I want to do, and let me make a distinction real quick, because I guess me and other content creators, of course, most of them aren't attorneys. Barron is, obviously, and he's got his own direction going. And I admit, I think I've gotten lost too in the difference between, Tyler Robinson being on trial, coming up on a trial, but being charged, held, and the difference between what evidence or challenges need to happen in order to, possibly get him acquitted or these charges dismissed versus, these alternate theories and figuring out who was actually responsible, right? Because in the first instance, Robinson's defense attorneys don't need to go in there and like prove that, whoever, of course we could go on forever about that, right? But, they don't necessarily have to prove that, right? They can come in there, and as long as they throw enough shade or doubt, reasonable doubt, right, upon the state's case or their theory, then that would be sufficient to, get Tyler Robinson acquitted potentially, right? So like this episode today is really going down that road. Okay. But again, there's this other road that a lot of the other content creators, and I've even gone down that road too, right? Like really looking into specific alternate theories about what happened. Therefore, and really, the reason why we're going down that road is to try to figure out who's ultimately responsible, because many people do not feel that it was Tyler Robinson, right? And so I just want to make that distinction. So just so we're clear today, I'm not going to be going down into any of the specific theories. Now, we're going to listen to this contemporaneous witness statement. And actually, there were two different interviews this one guy gave on the same day, in the aftermath, same day of the incident, obviously. So we're going to take a look at two of his interviews. And really what we're doing here is just really looking at his experience, his perception, right? Because if this goes to trial, this might be a credible witness, and we're going to assess that too, right? Because I'm going to tell y'all. And God bless everybody in Utah. Everyone I've ever known or worked with in Utah are really great people, whether they're part of the LDS church or not. But I think because we're learning more and more that the intelligence community operates out there. So when I saw this video, and these people I think are obviously part of the LDS church, this witness and his brother, as you'll see, they're doing this interview. So when I saw it, I watched it a few times, just really trying to assess whether this is, part of a psyop or not, to be quite honest with you. And that's continued since yesterday afternoon. I, watched it several times. I've done some research on them and just started thinking about it. And I'm kind of on the side where I don't think that these people or specifically this witness, is part of any psyop per se. Now, in the aftermath of all this, and what we'll see too, is that this interview was posted on YouTube, on a YouTube channel, and nothing else has really been posted since. And now, granted, there's a gag order too, right? So I will say that this person does look like somebody who would, abide by a gag order. And so that very well is probably it too. So it's just kind of, and I guess my ultimate objective in doing that, right, is I want to make sure that if I'm bringing y'all stuff that, and look, we've looked at a video, right, that I felt pretty sure, and everybody in the comment section of the video felt pretty sure, like, yeah, this is a, psyop misdirect move right here. Okay. So, I'm constantly looking at that. And as I've always said, I'm intentionally remaining as neutral and objective as possible, right? Especially in terms of these alternate theories, because I don't want to, I'm very ADD. And so when I get to really honed in and research and stuff like that, actually, I really, really go. So I don't want to put myself down one of those directions for fear that I'll disregard or not take seriously things that I couldn't present to y'all that are actually good content and very helpful for the discussion that we're having. And so that's why I really sat with this and took a look at it, and then found hey y'all, how y'all doing? Alley Top Files. We got Adam here. How you doing, brother? Gene Spliced, man, nice to have you. Banjaloon, I think you've been here before. Yep, absolutely. So yeah, thank y'all. Joe, how you doing? Thank y'all for showing up. So yeah, so today we're going to be looking at, and maybe y'all know, so I'll just say it, the gentleman that I found, his name is Darren, I say that, Darren Brunson, okay? And apparently him and his brothers are very famous musicians, or they were decently famous musicians. They've been involved in some pretty cool stuff, I guess. I think they're mostly brass or trumpet players. But anyways, the one brother, his name is, Galen Gaylord, something like that. We'll see it in just a second. But they have a studio it's not in Orem, it's in Provo. It's about 12 minutes from the UVU campus. And so the first interview we're going to look at, the way I kind of take it, is that the brother Darren was at the event where Charlie was at. He actually caught a hat. And this all happened, and we learned in the second interview that he was with someone. But anyways, he witnessed it, had all these perceptions and thoughts and ideas about it, and to his brother's studio. I think it's his brother that mostly runs it, just what I can tell. Went to his brother's studio. They did an interview. And then he did an interview with another YouTube podcasters podcaster, I think the same day. And so there's kind of two interviews, and they seem pretty consistent. And we'll talk about that too, like in terms of, a defense pulling in a witness like this, because, what I'll say initially here is that his perception of the events and what he witnessed and all that does not fit, obviously, the state's narrative here. Okay. And so, thinking as a criminal defense lawyer, if I were in the shoes of Tyler Robinson's criminal defense, let me say, it's not that I would just completely not go down the road of any of these alternate theories and try to point the fingers at someone else per se. I mean, that definitely can be done if things are developed well enough. But to be on the safe side, what they can for sure do is pull in witnesses, especially those like this gentleman who made pretty much a contemporaneous statement with his observations, stuff like that. It is normally really good. And we'll talk about that too, why that type of evidence or testimony is generally really good. And especially when you have a prior, if he were to get up there at trial and testify consistent, it would make it a lot harder because of this prior recording to impeach him necessarily or imply that he's changed his story because some kind of bias or motive. Okay. But anyways, yeah, he, from what I take it, went pretty much straight to his brother's studio, I guess it was the same day. So, and then went and they had a little interview, which we're going to watch. And so what it is that, his testimony, and I didn't go back and look at a lot of the other contemporaneous witness statements that we have. Now, obviously, a lot of them on the mainstream media, obviously, in a way, fit the state's narrative in, one way or another. But we have seen some others that either, that might be making too many assumptions. But, there's been some others that don't quite. And his statement seems to be on par with some of those that say, hey, this sounded more like a firecracker. He talks about the direction where it came. So we're going to take a look at that because, that's really good stuff. If this guy is a decently credible person, I mean, this could be good stuff to really throw shade on the state's narrative, I guess I'll say. So that's what we're going to do today. He does have his own little like quirky theory about what happened. Now, at a trial, the defense wouldn't really bring all that out, right? I mean, now look, if for some reason his quirky theory ends up, coming out to where there's tons of other factual extraneous facts that support it, maybe there is a circumstance where it might be something that he talks about. But otherwise, the defense would really just limit it to, what'd you hear? What'd you see? Full context, what's your background, establish their credibility, identity, things like that. So we'll talk about that today. But yeah, so that's why we're going to be looking at this, because moving forward, I'm going to be kind of really focusing in on what would, and obviously legal practitioners vary in their trial strategies, all that stuff. And obviously I don't have everything to look at that Tyler Robinson's attorneys to look at. So again, this is just kind of me from an outsider's perspective, some of the stuff I would be looking at possibly bringing. And so this witness statement here, after I got over the fact that, yeah, I don't 100% believe that this is like some kind of, CIA or some type of misdirect or psyop, right? So I was for some reason when I first saw it, and Adam can tell you, we were texting back and forth about it. I was kind of concerned about it at first, but the more I looked at it, the more I kind of think that this is actually a genuine recollection of the event from a guy who seems pretty competent to me, and doesn't seem like he has any specific axe to grind one way or the other, especially at that time, right after the event. But we're going to look at different parts. Like I said, we're going to watch the full first interview with him. It's about 13, 14 minutes with him and his brother in that studio. And then this other interview, again, is him with another podcaster. Can't remember the name, but y'all get to see. Maybe some of y'all follow this other podcaster that interviews him. And it's just by phone too. So the podcaster and his son are on the video. He kind of calls in on phone. But, and it's also good too to see, hear those two interviews and kind of just match up in one day. Did he become inconsistent? Because under the rules of evidence and just courts generally prefer witness statements, recollections that are closest in time to the event, right? That's because, obviously memories fade. Closer to the event, there's less of a chance that other outside influences have tainted the way that this witness is recollecting the event. And then also too, like I said, we're going to also talk about, if this dude if he is called at trial and goes to trial and his testimony is consistent with these other interviews, if the state were to try to impeach him or throw shade on his credibility, there are in many instances where the defense could actually bring out this video or these interviews and, rehabilitate his credibility by saying, hey, they claim that, he was seen, I don't know, mixing it up with people at Fort Huachuca or something like that in the interim. And, therefore he's biased to testify this way. And so you can say, yeah, no, well, that's good. But here goes this video jury that he testified like this before that Fort Huachuca sighting. And again, I just made all that up, trying to make a scenario where something like that might become the situation. So anyways, let me see here. Trying to think. Let me do this. I'm going to pull up before we start. I'll tell you what, no, let's just go straight into the interview. We're going to go straight into the interview. Let me just give you a little bit of background as I understand these guys. And I've given you a little bit already. The guys are, I think, 4 or 5 brothers, the Brunsons. Apparently they're A1 trumpet players and I think general musicians and sound technical people. The one brother has a studio where this interview we're going to look at occurred. And I think they were brought up in the Mormon church. They're LDS people. They seem to be good people. I mean, just by judging their attitude and disposition, they seem to be good people. But, people obviously can surprise you at times. Okay. So I'm not going to represent to you that 100% these are good, straightforward people that don't have any connection with some kind of, crazy group or intelligence community, stuff like that. I'm not going to represent that because I don't know 100%, but I just feel all things considered when I watched this interview and inspected it quite a bit, that, this seems to be like a genuine account of this gentleman's experience at the event. And so we'll take a look at it. I'm going to stop it a few times because he says some stuff, that's, and it's cool that I say it's cool. It's enlightening in a way that we've had all this time to do further investigation, gauge other theories. We've had technical experts and other people chiming in, right, which has obviously thrown a lot of shade for many people on the government story here. Okay. And so this interview, his testimony here seems to do the same. And again, that's just based on his observations of what happened while he was there. As we're going through it, I'll try to stop and distinguish for you stuff that, hey, this is something that you'd want to bring out at trial. Here goes him kind of speculating, and most of y'all could probably tell a lot of this, but I'll stop, here's some speculation. This might not be necessarily admissible. We'll probably draw an objection. I'll talk about that too, because again, ultimately, we're just concerned with facts, like what were his, in this is a legal term, present sense impressions during the event. Now, sometimes people draw some conclusions based upon different factors, and generally those will be okay. Obviously, a layperson can't give an expert opinion on anything, but things that matter in terms of setting the context and his overall story to make sense. If they have to draw some conclusions based on their perception, usually that's fine. But here you'll see he does get into kind of his theory of the case. And so that would probably be an instance where defense counsel would try to shut it down before it happens, especially here, because a witness might lose some credibility, possibly in the jury, if they went too far down that road, and not only that, would draw an objection from the state. So I'll try to sort that out for y'all as we go through this, and that's kind of going to be the spirit of a lot of my live streams moving forward, is trying to tackle the trial strategy here based upon the limited evidence and information that we have out here. So anyways, let's go ahead and hop right in. Let's look at this interview and see what's up. Good to have y'all today. Thank y'all very much. God bless. Let's see. I'll go ahead real quick. I got some new members. Susan. Oh, Susan, thank you. Debbie, thank you very much. I think Debbie might have been the first member. I don't know, but I'll let you know, Debbie. But God bless. Thank you very much. And then Miss Susan. Yeah. Thank you very much. I feel very blessed to have y'all two here with me, and really everybody, Lizard, everyone who's been here with me since the start. Thank y'all very much. I'm very grateful, and yeah, it's going to be a good journey. It's gonna, I thought last night before I jump in, let me do, last night I really thought like, moving towards the preliminary hearing in May, and then possibly moving towards a potential trial, like it's really going to heat up on this channel, because that's kind of my forte. Is trying to provide y'all a little bit more in-depth legal analysis, my opinion, perspective, legal analysis. Nothing I ever say is definitely not legal advice. Not that it really could be. It's definitely not for Tyler, but just my legal opinion perspective from where I'm at here. And so yeah, let's go ahead and start jumping in, and let me pull up this video. And yeah, man. Okay, here we go. So here we are. Here is the video. And again, y'all might recognize these people. Y'all very well might recognize these people. I didn't. Adam seemed like he had a little bit of foreknowledge on who they were. I was just very confused. And like Adam said too, for a second I thought, is this one person playing both parts? Like, what is this? But then obviously these are brothers. They all look pretty similar, but they're definitely different people, brothers. From what I understand, and again, I believe this to be in the, God, what's his name? Gaylord or Galen or something. I believe it to be his studio, the one on the right, his studio, which is, again, I think 12 or 13 minutes roughly from the UVU campus. It's called Mountain Rock Studios. Is that it? I think so. Rock Canyon Studios. So maybe y'all can even go look it up, look at the pictures. I've got it pulled up here too. But anyways, this is the interview. We're going to check it out. Obviously I'll be dying to let y'all, know what y'all think about it, both like after we get done with this, and then when we look at some other information about them, what you think about their credibility and possible biased intentions or motives here. So let's jump right in. Let's see. Go ahead and make it full screen.
So he threw this hat, and I just was standing there. All of a sudden, he came up, and I reached and grabbed for it. So this is this went from his hands to my hands. This hat. So when it was happening, I thought at first it was being staged or something. Okay, so I'm there. I see the shooting that happened, and I began to ask myself some questions. That right in the very moment that it happened, the first thing that came to my mind is somebody lit up the firecracker. Although I was looking at him when he was shot, and then I looked down to the audience to.
Okay, so real quick, just right off the start, he two kind of observations, and he gets a little bit further into. I think he just mentioned briefly he thought it was staged. He gets a little bit further into that in a second, but his observation that it sounded like a firecracker. Okay, so, and that was one of the things I first perked up to. And I think it's fair to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that there are some other witness statements that were made contemporaneously, meaning same day or around that time, that also believed that it was a firecracker. Again, I do remember that. Hopefully Barron, and I know he's going down this trail a little bit. Hopefully we see some more from him. But that really stuck out to me, the firecracker thing. And obviously we have some, and like I said first, we are also informed, right, by some of the technical aspects of these alternate theories that, when he says firecracker, well, that kind of harkens back to, right, the exploding mic theory. Even also possibly speaks to Jordan Henshaw's theory, right, about his. So let's keep going.
See, I was thinking, is this staged? Is this some kind of act? And the reason why I thought that is because the speaker or the guy that was asking a question was on guns. And I thought how that was kind of interesting. This guy's talking about guns. Then all of a sudden he's shot with a gun. And so I'm thinking, no, this is probably staged. Maybe they're going to do something really quick, but nothing happened. And then I looked down at the audience and everybody kind of, grabbed the floor. And I began to thinking, well, wait a minute. I didn't really grab the floor totally. I did a little bit, but I kind of looked around because I was thinking to myself, if there's a shooter out there and he actually pulls out his handgun and shoots it, maybe there's some people that saw it and were pounding on him. But I looked in the audience, and I looked and looked and looked, and nothing's going on. And things are happening so fast, it seemed like it was like several seconds where people were just went down and nothing. And then people started getting up, and then it was becoming a lot of commotional, and then people are
See?
I'm sorry, y'all.
Great razors at a great price.
I just realized that I do need to buy a membership to YouTube. But hey, there you go.
Take the next step in treating your moderate to severe ulcerative colitis with Entyvio, the only gut-focused.
Kind of coming towards my direction. Okay, so here's the audience. So I was probably about right in here. I was close enough that from his.
Okay, so this is an important part, right? So obviously, if we're going to trial on this, one of the main, as far as him being a fact witness to the incident. Lizard said his affect is off a little bit. Yeah, I get it. We'll talk about that too. But him describing his position, where he was, all that. So what I call his present sense impression, well, the rules of evidence would definitely label it that, is very material, right? That's really when we're talking about live events, live witness, which is great evidence, by the way, that's really what one of the main factors was. This person, how close were they? Could they see it clearly? Things of that nature. So that was an important part. I wanted to say too that, when he says, I thought this thing was staged because someone asking a question, Hunter Kozak, hey, Baron, about guns, that struck me as odd. And I got to admit, whenever I learned that fact too, when this first happened, that really struck me as well. That is super. It's one of those things that's well, if there was an assassin there, well, did they know that question was coming, or were they just waiting to hear a question that they, thought would be a good prompt? It just for sure raised a lot of questions. So I definitely resonate with him on that. One thing too, as he said, he's about to talk about, he's close enough that he caught a hat from Charlie apparently. And so again, just wanted to focus y'all in on his testimony as far as where he was and, in the context of what happened. Keep going.
Hands to my hands. This hat. So I was able to just grab it. So that's how close I were. How far can you throw a hat? When you watch the video, it looks like it's quite a ways, but when you're there, it's not that far. So I was pretty close. So at the time that I heard that I was watching it, and I'm looking at the audience, trying to figure out what's going on, and I'm looking to see if anyone was, holding down the shooter. And the reason why I was looking down is because the sound came from below me. It came upwards. Okay, so you're over.
Okay, so here we go. Here goes probably the most important part. I consider one of the most important parts of his testimony is assessing where the sound came from. And so let's just roll back for just a second, right? So we heard him at first say, "Oh, it sounded like a firecracker." But then as you hear him speak further, he really talks in terms of this being some type of shot from a gun. So, obviously the prosecution would try to jump all over that. Well, what is it? Firecracker, a shot? You consider there's a difference between those two? So just pointing that out as well. But as far as the direction from where this came from, right? Because as a defense, right, they're trying to show that this didn't come from the roof, or this didn't come from a gun, or especially a 30-06. Okay. And so these are very important parts of the state's theory that they would want to debunk or throw enough doubt upon. And so obviously his testimony that this came from below him, is very helpful, useful for the defense should they choose to present this testimony in trial.
Here, and you were thinking that the sound came down, point to where you think. Yeah, I'm thinking that the sound came from right over here. Let's see. Yeah, it came from below me. I'm kind of up here. The sound came.
So if we look at it, and I'm sorry I'm stopping, there's just some really, really dense, good stuff here. So he's pointing in the area kind of to the front of Charlie, right? And so I told you we would mention some of these theories, right? Well, wolves in finance, where are you at, dog? He kind of pointing in the area where the ring or the palm pistol guy is now. Not exactly right, but I mean, his testimony as to where it came from, it could be consistent with that. So I just wanted to point that out here. Let's keep going.
So
it came a little bit to your right,
Yeah.
like maybe down in this section here. That's where you heard the sound come from.
Yeah, that's
So
where I
you
heard
were
the sound.
looking to see if the shooter was going to be attacked.
Oh yeah, I was looking to see if the shooter was
And
going
you
to
were
be
looking
attacked.
over in this area here because
Yeah.
you figured there was a guy here that did the shooting.
Yeah, that's what I figured. And so when everybody dropped down, I looked around and people started coming up, and then people started coming towards me, and so I went
So
out.
all these people here were coming up where they were trying to get out.
Yeah, some people were going this way, but I was right here, and people were kind of pushing this way to go out the back way. And the reason why is because if there's a shooter, that would be the safest place, because if he's going to shoot.
Oh, you want to get out the.
So you want to get out the back entrance.
And there's another exit over there.
Yeah,
right?
there's an exit
Now,
over
is
here.
Is this a basement?
No, that's just the backstage. That's just it's flat back there.
What are these? Are these cars?
Yeah, these are cars parked there.
Is it an underground parking?
Crack thump theory. Al guys, where you at? And so yeah, he also talks to, we're gonna just give you a little foreshadow where we're going. Like, they talk about the acoustics, okay? And one thing I will say that, if I'm a defense lawyer going to use this gentleman here, not that I would present him as an expert per se, and that's not to say maybe he is an expert on sound acoustics, things of that nature, but obviously he has experience as a musician. His brother's got a studio. And so I would just think generally, this is just me, I would just think generally that he has a good ear for sound, okay? Because he's going to start talking about what he heard and the impression that he had. And so knowing his background with the music, stuff like that, just me personally, I'm giving a little bit more credence that these two guys here who have a sound studio stuff have a little bit better ear for determining what kind of sound, where it came from, etc. So I just want to point that out.
No, it's not underground. It just goes to the other side of this wall. It's
Okay.
like a flat surface,
So
a
this
building.
is like 1 story, 2 story.
Yeah.
You got one first
And-
story, second floor, and the third story where these guys are on top.
Yeah, and this just goes straight. So you just go out there, you go into the back, and you're out there, and there's a pond back there and grass.
How did Charlie Kirk come in? Did he come in through this way?
I don't remember. I think he came in from over on that side.
On this side.
Yeah, came
So-
over from on this side, and he had hats, and people were cheering, and he started throwing out the hats and everything.
So what time did the event start?
Yeah, it was supposed to start at 12, but I think it was probably about 12:05, 12:10 by the time he got up here and sat in his chair.
That was about what time again?
I'd say about 12:10. So I was over here, and then I went over here and went out right here. So I was somewhere right in here. And then it was pretty easy to go over there and then go out the back there. And a lot of people were going out the back there. So when I was out the back there, I just kind of looked around, and there weren't very many police. I was thinking maybe, where's the ambulance or the police that took Charlie away? But
So here goes. So he's going to go into, his perceptions about, obviously he just testified, there wasn't a lot of police or security there. Now, that would be good testimony at trial, his perception. Did you see a lot of police there? Well, no, just a few, not that many security, yada, yada. Now, he is going to end up going into, kind of implying his belief that there should have been a lot more. And regardless, even if, we do think there are a lot more, that could potentially draw an objection at trial in the sense that, he's not being offered as some expert on security or things of that nature. And so, to the extent that his opinion in that way is trying, the defense is offering it to say that, yeah, there should have been more security or this is fishy, et cetera, it might be going too far. But still, let's listen to what he says, because it's absolutely very important. And some of it, obviously could be very useful at trial. So
apparently they had moved him by then. They're pretty quick. And so I turned and looked, and I saw this guy being arrested. And I go, wait a minute. I know that guy. That's George Zinn.
Oh, they are killing me with these. I apologize, y'all. Dude. Maybe they're doing this because because I've sit here and watched this video, y'all, several times. And another thing, too, I don't know if this channel's monetized.
I already know he didn't do it. I knew he's kind of lonely, Ben. He's broke,
okay.
doesn't have any money. And I was thinking maybe, where's the ambulance or the police that took Charlie away? But apparently they had moved him by then. They're pretty quick. And so I turned and looked, and I saw this guy being arrested. And I go, wait a minute. I know that guy. That's George Zinn. And he didn't do it. I already know he didn't do it. I knew he's kind of lonely, Ben. He's
Really?
broke, doesn't have any money. He's kind of out of it, but he professes to be LDS, goes to church, where he's highly active, I think. And so I'm thinking that didn't do him. So I got kind of close, and I was looking to see if I could see if they had a gun. No gun, nothing of that went on. And then
So yeah, real quick, yeah, y'all. Look. I guess I am technically challenged in some ways, or I guess unaware on a lot of things. Like I was yesterday old when I knew that you could buy a YouTube premium membership to avoid commercials. So I've literally, y'all, been cycling through commercials, and I had it. It's on my agenda today to get me a premium membership. I do apologize. And again, it's kind of weird because I've watched this several times without there being any commercials, and I don't think this is a monetized channel, or at least have the credentials be monetized. But anyways, well, just so y'all know, he's talking about George Zinn. Now, this was something that I found a little funny, just in that not only did he, he saw George Zinn get arrested, and he did testify that he shuffled out that way. So he would have obviously been there at the location, but and maybe I'm off. It was George Zinn kind of notorious or well-known in some way, at least in the LDS community out there. And it seems like maybe I have heard other people talk about George Zinn being known to have been at these other events and kind of a conspiracy actor, I guess you could say. So I will say that the George Zinn thing was something that kind of struck me. But with that being said, maybe George Zinn is just that well known to be part of a conspiracy cohort. I don't know, but we'll keep going. Let's see.
escorted him over to where the police car and put him in the police car.
And this is way back over
This
here?
is way back
a
behind
parking
this.
lot?
Yeah, kind of a parking lot there. Yeah. So then I got to thinking, So when I left,
But at this point, were police and people saying get out quick? Were they escorting people out, or was it just kind of?
no, there was no police escorting anybody. People were just doing that on their own.
Did you see very many police?
No, there was no. I didn't. The only police I saw were the ones that were arresting George. But it looked like there was one wearing a uniform and two different clothing of uniforms. They had a gun. So they,
plain clothes.
Yeah, plain clothes police officers. And then the other people that were running around in the back just looked like that they were security for UVU. So I didn't see any police.
When you came to this event, was there a checkpoint?
No. When I came to the event, I was told that before you come to the event that you need to get a ticket. So I got online, got a ticket. So I was expecting that they were going to check it. When I got there, nothing.
So that's interesting. I had not heard, and maybe I'm out of the loop. I very well could be out of the loop. But I had not heard previously that they actually sold tickets to the event. I mean, based upon all the video I've seen and general knowledge of the kind of the layout there, like I didn't know it seemed open air to me, right? Like kind of an open air, pretty much. If you can make it to campus and walk to that area, you can show up and see Charlie Kirk. I had no idea that they sold tickets. I don't know if y'all had heard other people say that they bought tickets. That was very interesting to me. And so I'm still thinking on that, because again, here we go. This is kind of my larger conspiracy thinking brain, about the tickets. But again, for our purposes here, him buying a ticket, obviously, well, I'll say this. So his observations about the security and police there that day, obviously him buying a ticket would have chimed him into that. Like he said, I expected when we went in to be screened, be checked. So if you buy a ticket and you're going to the show and that doesn't happen, that seems to be something that would put security police on your mind at that time. Okay. So I just wanted to sort that out too. But I'm still thinking about that ticket thing. It's very, very interesting.
They didn't check nothing. It was just open. You go through a building and then you're out there in the plaza, and it was just really
so no
free.
Metal detector,
no metal detectors, no scanning, no
in.
petty checking, no police presence, nothing.
Did you see any police anywhere?
I didn't see any police anywhere.
But you saw some UVU security?
Only and when I was in the back.
Only
after
the incident.
Yeah, after the incident. Yeah, it was just open.
Otherwise,
nothing.
you didn't see anything.
No, I didn't see
anything. Did you see any security with Charlie?
No. There was some people dressed in black.
So here we go with the he's talking about Charlie's security real quick, which is interesting because and maybe he wasn't aware or recognized that like Dan Flood and them were necessarily security. But we'll hear him talk again. But it's very interesting because I think, if I'm correct, like Charlie had like 8 to 10 security people there. Obviously, some of them were towards the front in the crowd and in and around the tent. So maybe he just didn't equate those people with being Charlie's security. But we'll let him keep going. I'll stop talking.
Sure, and you think they're like his bodyguards, maybe 1 or 2 or 3, but that's it. So it didn't look like, it didn't look like he had any
low key.
Oh yeah, really low key. It was very relaxed, and you thought, and everyone, the audience really loved Charlie. He comes out and says a few words, and when he was throwing the hats up, people were cheering, and they really liked him, and so yeah. And so then I got to thinking, after it all happened, I went home and watched some videos of it, and I got to thinking, wait a minute, I know the sound of the gun came from.
Okay, so you have a theory.
Yeah, I have a theory. Okay, this is my theory. So I'm
all right. So here we go. Now, I will say that his theory's a little. I haven't heard it yet. I mean, not to say that it hasn't been proposed. I just have not heard it quite yet. Sorry, it's a little hot in here. I'm gonna get a fan next time. I haven't heard this theory yet. Based upon his perception of what occurred, obviously his theory fits within that. So to the extent that it's consistent with what he saw or heard. Again, this wouldn't be something that a defense attorney would try to bring out at trial per se. Okay. Now, considering the climate we're in, I'm sitting here thinking like, well, if the defense didn't do it, maybe the state could try to bring it to throw shade on his credibility, to make him look like some kooky conspiracy theorist, right? Because conspiracy theorists are, in this day and age, apparently like a derogatory term. I don't know, but I just wanted to lay that kind of, give you a little taste for how this might go at trial. But generally, definitely defense attorneys would avoid him saying this theory, but let's go.
Know that the sound of the gun came from below me.
Okay, so you're up here.
And I'm up there and I'm looking down and it came from below me. And I'm thinking,
Oh my God. I don't know why it keeps doing this. It's never
what if working
done
from
this
home
as many
didn't
times
have
in a
to
row.
mean selling products or posting online?
That's very
and here's the
suspicious
kicker.
to me.
If you're not making $158,000,
all right,
it didn't come from above. It didn't come from my level. It came from below
go ahead
me.
And point this out. It didn't come from.
So it didn't come from anywhere up here because the sound would have come down. The sound came up to my ears. So I was looking, when I watch a couple of videos and pictures.
So you don't think you were hearing reflection? You think you were hearing direct sound?
Yeah, direct sound. Yeah,
because there's nothing down here to reflect.
All guys, the audio people.
You can feel that it came
here you go.
Because, so otherwise there's all this flat area for the sound to reflect off of. You would have heard the sound from to your left.
Yeah, if it would have been up here, I would have felt the sound come down.
But if it had been over here and reflected off the building,
you would have known it. But it came specifically below me.
So you think it came from down here?
Oh yeah. So I'm thinking it came below me. So
did other people kind of feel the same way? Do you think?
I think so. People that were in my area, I'm pretty sure they felt the same. But just in my own feeling, I felt it come upwards. So I got to thinking, where do you have to be to make this precise shot? And so I got to thinking where he was and anything that would line up for that. If it was going to be on the roof or the balcony, they're not going to see his head because he's got a canopy over her.
Now there was
canopy.
Well, I remember there was one camera that was down here, and it showed, and I think you could see the top of the building over here.
Yeah,
it was like.
Now you got to understand something that camera's right here. And his head is up higher, and that can be a lot. That can make a lot of difference. Yeah, that can be a lot.
So you don't think from his vantage point he could actually see the building?
No, from his vantage point he couldn't see the building.
So obviously, what they're talking about here is, whether a shot from above, whether someone on a roof could have seen Charlie's face, and if y'all notice, his brother pointed out that third camera that we mentioned last time we were. Couple streams ago, right? That third camera gate. So that's very interesting too. But they're talking about whether that angle would have been a bit. And again, this is all speculation on their part. This wouldn't be something particularly brought out at trial per se, as far as what they thought actually happened. But I'm playing it here just because it's very interesting and speaks to
And
some other
so
stuff.
when you watch different angles of it, he looks like he got shot almost eye level. Something that was almost eye level, not higher, because it's not going to be too high. So I got to thinking, what kind of sophisticated
Here we go.
technology we got? Is it possible
it's kind
that
of
they could develop
y'all
something that can fire a bullet that can be controlled, remote control, and that they could actually maybe put it in the back of a speaker? So, because I'm thinking the speakers that were there where Charlie is, they're in the direct line of fire, and it's below me. When I heard the gunfire, it sounded like that's the area that it came from, and I'm thinking, is it possible that whoever did this invented something they could put in the back of the speaker that you could control the shot of the bullet, remote control, and then design the speaker so that the hole looks like that's where a speaker jack or something goes in there, and put a mechanism in the back of the speaker that could fire a bullet. So they put a mechanism in the back of the speaker that can fire a bullet that can be controlled remotely.
So let's just take a look at the speaker system. Where are these speakers placed? Why don't you just take that?
I guess we'll call that the speaker gun theory. Again, not trying to like throw shade on it at this juncture. You know, we're all still trying to figure out ourselves. So it's kind of it's new and novel. Maybe y'all have heard that before, but yeah. So he's proposing that one of the speakers, I think the one to Charlie's front right, possibly could have done it. But let's keep going.
Okay, yeah, it's this speaker right here that shot Charlie in this direction and made him go this way, out the back or the side of the speaker, and it would be perfect.
He was sitting on this chair here.
I can't see. Yeah, he's sitting right here, and it would be perfect because he's sitting up here, his head's above it, and boom.
So is this the only sound system they had for this whole event?
Yeah, they had a speaker here too, a speaker here, and I think a speaker here, but it seems like there was a smaller speaker down here or something. But
so they didn't have any other sound in this whole thing, just those two?
Yeah, that's it.
And you could hear it okay?
Yeah, it was okay.
Now, when these speakers were projecting sound, did you hear it reflect off of any building?
No, but when the guy that was asking the question, you couldn't hear him too well, but when Charlie would speak, you can hear it really well. It's almost like they had two different sound systems.
Now, I have noticed this when the video playbacks that we see, I don't know if y'all recognize or if that made sense to you either, but like, it was like I can hardly hear Hunter asking his question, but I could hear Charlie giving his. Now, I don't know if that's because of the perspective of where each video was at, but he's kind of testifying to that too. So that's interesting as well. But let's hear what he says about his thoughts on the audio people there.
Did you hear any echoing from the speakers here?
No. You know what? I'm thinking just now, why would the guy that's asking the question, why did his voice come out different speakers? Because it sounded totally different. But when Charlie spoke, you could tell it came out a better sound system.
So both guys that asked questions, their volume was low?
I don't know. No, not yet. The volume was low, but it sounded different, like it wasn't tweaked right. Like it was teeny. Yeah. Everyone is asking a question.
So the microphone that they had for the people asking the questions, where was that microphone positioned?
Yeah, I think the microphone was like down here somewhere.
It was directly in front, right?
Yeah, directly in front of him.
Maybe they were trying not to get feedback and they didn't want to.
Oh, they got feedback.
Oh, they got feedback.
Oh, yeah, they got feedback.
From those microphones. So they were trying to figure out. So I'm wondering if they hired the sound out.
So here they're about to, again, reference Terrell Farnsworth and team. Again, they're wondering about it. They talked about feedback. Again, a lot of these things they're talking about have been mentioned and discussed in regards to a lot of the other theories out there. So that's why I just wanted to bring it up. It's interesting to me to hear kind of his and his brother's take on this. And yeah.
I heard the sound out. Yeah, I'm sure. Maybe, yeah.
They could find out who. Well, we don't want to implicate anyone that's doing the sound like this. It's just like there's a theory.
They need to check, just like they need to check everybody. They need to check the sound system. They need to check everything to put.
Amen.
And the big question is going to ask: is the sound system going to be there tomorrow? Has they already got the permission to just take down the sound system?
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering. I'm thinking that the sound system would be confiscated from whoever owns it, whether it's a UVU, whatever, could be under investigation.
So here we go, right here. Now this really plays into what I've been talking about, right? Like these are, to my knowledge, just normal average citizens that said they're not attorneys or law enforcement officials, but even they are like, hey, all this equipment, all this other stuff should have been confiscated. Okay. And so that also struck me too. Again, it doesn't take a legal professional or 20-year special FBI agent to understand that all of that evidence, all the equipment, everything in and around Charlie should have been confiscated immediately.
Right.
So that'd be interesting to find out. It's to be like, okay, who did sound for Charlie
We know
Kirk?
who did sound.
Exactly. And then examine the speakers, tear them apart, because the speakers are going to look like they're okay. And like that military guy told me, he says, when you shoot in a bowl like that, sometimes it can be very difficult to tell where it came from.
Well,
but I didn't ask him. I says, what about if you're above it? Because I heard it come from below me.
The only thing.
Oh my God, they're tearing me up, man. I hate that. Yeah, I'm getting a premium membership today.
I have a
This is
134
incredible.
IQ. I make less money
Dude,
than friends who
In
barely
a
passed high
14-minute
school.
video, I
Here's
mean,
what-
About
anyways.
a bowl is the acoustics change completely when you fill it with people. They all have clothes on, and all that stuff is absorbent to those certain frequencies. The bottom end will kind of penetrate, but when you have their clothes and different things like that to reflect off of, there's a lot of absorption of sound and diffusion of sound. This is like a huge sound diffuser. So I don't think you can look at this like a bowl. You can look at this like maybe a bowl-shaped sound diffuser.
Yeah.
Because
maybe.
I think that sound is diffused in all of this. So I think you're going to have.
But you still got the concrete here, and you got the concrete at the top, and so maybe all the people absorbed it. If it shot right there, the people absorbed it, but up above, it's going to sound a little different.
So
maybe.
if the sound's coming this way or hits a building, and this sound hits you first, and this sound hits a little bit later, you're gonna hear a little bit of
An echo, yeah, no echo.
No echo.
And if me being here, I would have felt it came from my right side. I would have felt it.
Yeah, you would have kind of heard something from
Yeah.
elsewhere.
Yeah, it wouldn't give me the strong impression that it came from below.
So this was kind of doing a good job absorbing sound.
Yeah, so yeah, there
diffusing
wasn't
sound.
a lot of echo. It really sounded like it just came from below me. Boom.
Interesting. So were you hearing any other sound that was further out over here?
No,
I mean, like cars going by? Was
no,
there any
no. There's
traffic
no
noise?
traffic, no nothing.
Is there
It's
a building
plaza.
back? Is there
Yeah,
a building?
there's a building kind of all the way around to about like this. There's a building here, then over here, then maybe a building over here. So it's kind of a circle and going down. And then the circle goes up and it's flat, and then there's buildings.
Okay, so you didn't hear any ricochet.
No ricochet.
There's another thing to consider.
What?
The microphone picking up the sound of the gun. So if the speaker fired a shot, it would have been picked up in this microphone and come out those speakers as well. Because it was loud enough to be picked up by.
I'm sure it was, yeah.
So maybe that also affected it as well.
well, okay. So that's
Congressman Rokon,
turn that off. So that is that's the video. That's the initial interview video that I saw. Now, apparently, obviously, that seems to be just a portion of a larger video. And the Scout 7, I believe, again on X. Man, I hope I got his handle correctly. But Scout X on 7, I think, pointed out, I think he's correct, that seems to be a segment of a much larger video, or I say much larger, of some larger video. Just because it kind of cuts in, it seems like they're already going, and cuts out before it seems like they ended. Now, at the end, they made a good point, as far as I'm concerned, is about and I think Al Geist and the other audio technicians have pointed, obviously their calculations have assumed that the microphones picked up whatever sound that is, and send it back out, which obviously could cause difficulty in fully assessing where the sound came from. Now, if I'm obviously Tyler Robinson's defense attorneys, my main thing to get out of this guy, again, I wouldn't have him going into a lot of the detail and speculation and whatnot that he did in that video. But in terms of, his perception of the sound coming from down closer to Charlie. And, I did point this out too. Obviously, he goes from his initial opinion of it sounding like a firecracker to really talking in terms of it being a gunshot. So that would obviously be something that the prosecution would want to point out. And so it's weird. And what I'd want to know too is, did his conversations or people that he spoke with subsequent to the event affect his, first thinking it's a firecracker. Now I think it's some kind of shot. But again, as far as trying to pin that this sound came from closer to Charlie at the front and not the roof, that would probably be the limited purpose I would ever use his testimony for if I'm trying to knock a hole in the state's theory, right? Because again, that's his present sense impression of what occurred at the time. And, I do think that he had some also decent context to give to explain why he felt that it came from that direction. Now, obviously, when he goes to speculating about the shot coming from straight from Charlie, and actually, when we look at this other interview, I'll pull up here in just a second, he talks about another thing is his impression watching the actual event that Charlie had been hit in the heart. But it was actually a video later afterwards that someone who was closer in front of Charlie showed him, which made him, believe that it was in the neck. But yeah, we'll play that one real quick too. Let me take this off and I'll come around to comments here in just a second. Matter of fact, let me see. I think I might have. Oh, I got members. Lizard and Lisette. Thank y'all very much. God bless. Thank y'all for signing up. And we'll just continue the journey we've already been on. So thank y'all very much. If y'all can, give a like. If y'all are liking it, please give me a like. If you haven't, please subscribe. We'd love to have you. We got more of this coming. This is really just the start of a series of videos aimed at witnesses, particularly contemporaneous witnesses of the event, moving towards trial. So it'll be fun to kind of collect all these and talk about, the main ones individually. And then, we'll be accumulating them as well and talking about in total, what kind of picture is this painting? And is it something that the defense could run with? And obviously, like I mentioned to start, a lot of the other witness statements that we saw, particularly on the mainstream media, well, people have issues with a lot of those. And quite frankly, I did too. I'm just going to say a lot of them just didn't seem genuine to me. And then I did see a lot of interviews that were, or people doing their own social media posts, after the event, which also seemed to be, well, I'll tell you about it. A lot of them had credibility to them. And we learned, well, one, we had the gag order from the court. And then two, I think there were one or two instances, correct me if I'm wrong, where like the FBI reached out to some guy, if I remember, like people's videos or their photos on their camera were missing. So a bunch of weird stuff happened with that. So going back over and trying to collect some of these contemporaneous witness statements, not the mainstream media ones, that's what we'll be doing. So if you have any, send them to me. I'd be very interested to see them. And again, my recollection from a lot of those was, again, the sound of a firecracker, the fact that the sound didn't seem more local or closer to where the actual event took place. So let's go. All right. And maybe y'all know, perhaps y'all know this guy here, the original Marks. I just became familiar with his news thing today. He's got, I think, 119,000 subscribers. I believe him to be local there to Utah. I guess he is friends, perhaps, or he knew the Brunson, the Devin Brunson. But anyways, here's Brunson. Now, he's speaking over the phone on this interview to the original Marks, and this is his son, Zester, that is sitting next to him. But anyways, he called in, so he's going to be on the phone. So we're going to hear audio only of him. Hey, Curious Scout, thank you very much for joining as a member. Very grateful. God bless. But we're going to listen to, so there's a few different parts in here, and I'm looking at the timestamps, what I want to show today. I'm going to play two parts. The first one's more, again, this is him again describing, it's mostly his experience, who he is there with. And he makes a very important comment to it first. So let's take a look.
Well, here's what's very interesting. I was there with a friend, and she told me that she had been there earlier, at graduation. He says the security was very tight. You had to, they checked your purse, you went through screening, the police presence was strong, a lot of security. They bring in Charlie, no security at all. None. As a matter of fact, when I was in the audience and I was watching him, the first speaker talked about religion, mostly the LDS Church. And then the second speaker, he went right into guns. Transvestites, should they be allowed to have guns? And then boom, Charlie was shot. I thought that was very suspect that they talked about guns right when he was shot. Now, I was at his 2 o'clock, and from my angle, it looked like he was shot in the heart. And afterwards, I bumped into somebody who was actually in the front line asking questions. He says he was right there. He says, no, he was shot in the jugular. And I says, no, I was at his 2 o'clock. It looked like he was shot in the heart and he bled out from his heart. He says, well, I've got the video. You got a video? He says, yeah. So I looked at the video and indeed, he was shot in the jugular. Blood spurted out and landed on his chest. And that's why I thought he'd been shot in the heart. So I remember, I'm at his 2 o'clock. If he was shot straight on, which I don't know if he was shot straight on, but I think he was shot from the 2 o'clock. But up on the jugular, he had made him move to the side. And if you know anything about any time you've been hurt, the first thing you want to do is put your hands to where you're hurt. He didn't bring his hands up. He brought his hands up only just maybe a couple of inches, like it was a nervous reaction. But then he just fell over like he was dead. And the video that he showed me, it shows that he hit his jugular, and he bled out profusely, a lot of blood. And I talked to another guy that does a lot of deer hunting. He says, when you hit a deer in the jugular, that deer goes down. Poof.
It does. That's one of the rare times. That's why you always try to get a heart shot or the neck shot. I know this sounds bad, guys, to discuss it like that, but I used to hunt quite a bit, and a lot of amateur.
So anyway, so that was just a little bit, obviously his statements about his friend that was there with him talking about, it's very interesting for our purposes, right? For sure, continuing the investigation, like the admissibility of this friend's statement, et cetera, et cetera. We'd have to really work that out with the rules of evidence, but it is very, for purposes of us who aren't really necessarily buying what the government or the state is feeding us, right? And one thing that Brunson does say a lot is he keeps saying, how is it that there was this much lack of security at UVU? Because his friend had, as he stated here, his friend said that she had been to a prior event, a graduation, and security was really tight. They were checking bags and all of that, right? So it just seems, again, and I know we've this, it's very strange that on a graduation, something that's not necessarily politically motivated or something that just off the cuff people wouldn't have necessarily a propensity to want to show up and start harming people, why they had beefy security checkpoints, stuff like that at that event. But yet here there's more or less, I was not going to say a complete lack of security, but we've all noticed that. It's been observed by lots of other commentators and professionals, and then obviously here. And so I think, factually speaking, in relative terms, there was a very suspect lack of security that day. Obviously, I think many of y'all have probably seen the recent articles talking about I think one of the news channels requested the security plan from UVU. For whatever reason, I'm still trying to work this out in my head. The defense filed some objection to that records request. And so, there's some funny business going on with the security that day. And we could go on. We could do a whole episode, right, about all those issues. But just noting that he also here now, in terms of trial, could he testify that security seemed lax to him that day? I mean, it would probably draw an objection, but he could definitely testify factually as to the amount of security that he saw. Now, if he had personally been to a prior event at UVU and witnessed other other, a different higher level of security, he could definitely testify to that, just limited to say that, yeah, there was less security there, Charlie Kirk, than at that day. He couldn't go in like, oh, yeah, very just minimal security. There's just not to par, couldn't go that far into it. But it sounds to me, according to his testimony, that it was actually a friend, which obviously his friend who was with him, that would be a great witness to have. Like, did this person, sounds like a lady, have the same observations that he did? And obviously she apparently was at this other graduation. So if I'm a defense attorney, if I'm liking his testimony potentially to bring, I'd want to go talk to this person too. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. Now, I'm going to go to this one last short portion. And the reason I'm going to do it is because, if he were to come testify, the prosecution would want to show that he has some type of bias or motive to not tell the truth about what happened there. So here we're going to hear him just talk real briefly about his perception of Charlie leading up to the event, because obviously that speaks to kind of his feelings, and perhaps if he felt a certain way about Charlie, maybe he would have be less inclined to come in there and tell the truth. So let's just take a look at, let's just listen to it. Where are we at?
I am truly, truly upset at this one. I'm like almost speechless. It's like, how do we move forward from this? And I look at, he was such, of course he was appreciated by my crowd. We always want to see, that. But
agreeing with you. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants the well-spoken person who's capable of.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, many people looked up to him. I know. I didn't watch very many of his videos, and I did like a lot of what he did. So I wasn't a real big fan of him, but I liked what I heard, and I was like, yeah, I like this guy. So and it was a big crowd. It was a big crowd there. I mean, for that room, it was just, and remember, it's outdoors. It's in kind of a bowl, and he's down at the bottom. You have to, if you get up too high, you have to look down the scene. And it was just full of students, and they were excited. Oh, they were cheering him. When he came out, he was throwing baseball caps out to everybody, and one came right to me, and I caught it. And so when I was interviewed on Fox News, I was wearing that baseball cap that he'd thrown out and that I had gotten. So that's how close I was. I mean, how far can you throw a baseball cap? So that's where I was. And the audience, it looked like to me that the audience loved him. They were excited for him.
Okay. That was just the other little piece I wanted to play. Again, that last little bit is just to kind of establish what his feelings were about Charlie going into the incident. So obviously it sounds like he definitely had no issue with Charlie, that he had heard some of his prior stuff and thought it was good. I mean, good enough to show up. Based upon my assessment, it doesn't sound like there was any pre-incident motive or bias that would have bled into his statements subsequently about, the facts of what happened. And yeah, so that's very interesting. This guy's thing was very interesting to me. And again, I knew that when I played this, people were going to have a lot of varying opinions about him. And, that's probably with anybody that I would put up here as a witness, right? So, but it's fun to sit here and kind of go through this together. I'm about to hop over to the comments in a second and go through them, and we can talk about this more in depth. One thing I do want to say, and this is just, obviously I try to do as much educational parts of this content as possible. So again, the way that he testified here in these interviews, and they were seemingly consistent with one another. One thing I did want to say, for purposes of, let's say, John Bray's exploding mic theory, I heard someone just chime in about that just a second ago. Now, he said that his initial impression, was that Charlie had actually been, hit in the heart versus the neck, and that it wasn't until he approached and saw some other video that made him think that Charlie was actually originally, at least, right. But I'm curious. I don't think he went into it in he didn't mention a puff shirt. Now, I would be anxious to ask him if was a hard shot. But I think he said because he didn't think that the bullet could have come through or a shooter from the roof could have seen to hit him in the neck. And so that was another thing I thought was that, and again, just depending on what you're really subscribing to, do we know for a fact that, and that's another thing, right? So the crime scene was not adequately preserved. And so we really couldn't 100% say whether if whoever might have been, if there was hypothetically, allegedly a sniper shooting from the low-C center position, I mean, unless we had a picture taken from that vantage point on that day with Charlie sitting in that chair, or if we had the chair exactly where it was sat with the image, could we know for sure whether they would have had a line of sight to Charlie's jugular? So again, just kind of pointing that out. So there are parts of his, if I'm a defense attorney wanting to just throw shade or doubt upon the, state's theory, I think this guy's testimony related to where he sent the, firecracker shot blast, I would obviously, as an attorney, I would try to work that out with him about, do you think it was a firecracker or a gun? You keep saying gunshot, but originally said firecracker. Why is that? That was obviously something you'd want to work out with them because, trust me, the state would be questioning about that, right? So, but again, if I remember correctly, we've heard a lot of more or less contemporaneous witness statements that mention firecracker or firework. Okay. So I would try to go and dig up as many more of those as possible, go and locate those people, speak with them. And hey, the defense might have spoken with this guy, right? They're under gag order. So if they did speak with them, and obviously the defense attorney's not giving that out. I mean, I don't blame them for not telling us which witnesses they're looking at per se. Maybe we'll know more as we approach the preliminary hearing and closer to trial. But, just for, I guess, the educational part of it, and this is Utah rule of evidence, pretty much all rule of evidence, 801D1B talks about prior consistent statements. And so if he were to go to trial and speak, basically his testimony is consistent with what we've just heard. If the state tried to attack his credibility, alleging that, sometime in between him sensing this event and showing up at trial to testify that there's something there that made him prejudiced or biased, this prior consistent statement can be used in order to rehabilitate their credibility. Okay. So like, just because he made a prior consistent statement doesn't mean when he goes to trial, the defense could play this just to make him look more credible. There would have to be an actual attack on his credibility. And that attack would have to be that he had recently been influenced in some way to be biased, that he had, fabricated the testimony in some way. Okay. So again, these things are good. Obviously, as far as Robinson's defense attorney, not saying I would use this guy's testimony for sure, but definitely be interested in speaking with them. I can say that I definitely would be interested in speaking with him and his compadre, whoever his companion there with him that day. So that's kind of the bulk or the substance of, what I wanted to come and get out today. Let's take a look at the comments and see what y'all have to say about it. I have been monitoring it a little bit through the course here, so thank y'all. But let's see what we got going, man. And thank y'all for showing up. I hope y'all are having a blessed and beautiful afternoon today. It's beautiful weather here in the Nantahala National Forest. Let's see. And Lizard, I'm glad to see our brother Lizard, who is a subscriber, now a member, is from the UK. He's actually in Turkey right now. So if you can, keep him in your prayers. He's going to be, I think, trying to head back to the UK soon. So obviously with all the mess that's going on there, Lizard, we're praying for you, brother. We hope you get there. And thank you for joining us. Getting a membership, man. Awesome. Let's see. All right. Ooh, old men can't see. KT, I think in my family with old men, I know my dad can't hear. My old man, he can't hardly hear. And sometimes I have to yell at him at times. But, I think we all obviously lose sight in, hearing as we go. But I'll say this, and it'd be interesting to hear y'all's comments on this. And I think I mentioned it at first, their experience as musicians, and obviously his brother having the studio, I would imagine he works with them in there. Like, they seem that they probably have a decent ear. Musicians have what they call a good ear, hearing notes, pitch, all that type stuff. And so, with him assessing both the quality of the sound, and again, you want to work out why he went from firecracker to, talking like it was a gunshot. You want to work that out. But, typically, I would think that he might have a little bit better of an ear to determine the quality, nature of the sound, and even direction than a lot of people. Obviously, I'd like to talk to him about that and maybe, hear other people's opinions on it. But, just point that out. That might be something else that the defense lawyers would want to, like, not bring out in the sense that he's an expert on those things, but just, in the back of a jury's mind, if they know that this gentleman is, has a musical ear, works in music and studio production, those things could help bolster the credibility of his testimony regarding, the sound and where it came from. So just want to point that out. Let's see. Bonnie. What Lizard says, he has an interesting theory for so soon after the event. No, that's a very good. No, I agree. I mean, yeah, I don't know exactly how soon after the event these two theories. Oh, let me say this, and I apologize. I didn't pull it out of the weeds on that second interview, but this is interesting. Maybe I'll remember. He says in that second interview on that news show that he actually gave an interview to Fox News. Now, I haven't seen that interview. Maybe one of y'all have. It would be interesting because to be honest, when I heard that, I thought, well, maybe this, crisis actor thing, maybe and to be honest with you, this interview not being on one of the main platforms, it really helped me start to kind of think that it wasn't. But again, his testimony definitely doesn't support the slop narrative, right? It doesn't. And so it makes me, that's what gives me kind of a pause to say that he's a plant or something like that. But hey, they're also good at misdirection, right? They're also good at misdirection. And this whole speaker theory, so early on, right, Lizard? So early on, very well could have been intended to be something of that nature, now that you say that. And I must admit, I just really made that connection. But yeah, very possibly that very soon quick theory, and kind of a jump to go up the road and do a formal recorded interview with his brother, going into pretty good detail on it. I don't know. That's very odd. So I don't know. And look, let's think about it like this too, right? Is that we live in this this society where being a conspiracy theorist can get you labeled crazy and kooky, and people throwing you to the side. So maybe we need to reverse look at this, right? And again, I'm going not beyond just like what is trial testimony here. Let's talk about like ultimate theories and what happened. I'm not speculating too far. This is food for thought. Is that, maybe there is truth to what he's saying. Not that it's the speaker theory per se, but perhaps they wanted, if it was part of some psyop, perhaps it was trying to get people buying into that early, and there could be some truth in that direction, but to do that so that way early on you can label the people who pick that up conspiracy theorists. They're crazy, they're nuts. So again, these things work both ways, and that's why it's for me in what I'm doing here, generating this content with y'all. That's why it's very important for me personally to try to stay as neutral and objective on these different theories. Then the whole gambit too, because again, you can see it's kind of a double-edged sword, and these things get very sticky very quick. So again, just stay awake, everybody, because the forces that perpetuate these types of things, they've studied this for a very long time. The books have been written about it. But thank you for pointing that out, Lizard. No, that was a very, very good observation there. Let's see. What did Adam Thomas podcast say? I don't buy he's alive theory. If that were true. Oh, okay. He's just saying, yeah, I'm going to try to stay out of this episode going down any specific theories. But yeah, I realize that people have their varying theories, and I definitely support, people having your theory, and I definitely support everyone who's putting a lot of valuable time and resources towards developing their theory. I 100% support it. At this juncture, in order to get to the truth, it's going to take developing out as many different avenues as possible until we get that one where everything seems to match up. But again, I think there's also operatives trying to work backwards and obfuscate a lot of the, mix up a lot of the facts that we would need. So again, and that brings me back to, who was it? Peak Prosperity's video. He did a video early on talking about forensic analysis of the alleged gunshot here. And he made it very clear that, the paving over of the crime scene, the destruction of that crime scene really, really handicapped doing any kind of, super, super in-depth forensic analysis, investigation, confirmation of any theory, especially relating to any theory to do with gunshots. So just wanted to point that out there if y'all haven't seen it. And I agree with him. I absolutely agree with him 100%. Even though I'm not like a forensic expert per se, I just understand generally that, the crime scene, the locus where Charlie was sitting at the time of the incident is obviously very important in terms of doing, gunshot or ballistic analysis, recreation, right? Let's see. Oh, let's see. Oh, he was smart. Let's all remember that Charlie was 6'5". Yeah, because, and again, we weren't really subscribing necessarily today to this discussion about height of Charlie, where he would have been under the canopy and what the line of sight, would have been. But and one thing too, and I don't know if y'all heard as clear as I did, but like he really went into, hey, the people who did the sound, and I don't know if it was even necessarily just because he had the speaker gunshot theory, but he really thought that, hey, the people who were doing the sound, we really need to speak to them. And it also, I think, had to do with a lot of the feedback in the varying levels, finding that to be suspicious. And again, I know that there have been a lot of the other theories that have gone in and looked at like Barron with the electrocution, and not saying Barron subscribes 100% electrocution, but he's done a lot of discussions about it. And, Terrell Farnsworth and Friend over there constantly, it seems like, messing with the mixer, the different volume levels, the feedback. He seems to also place some type of significance in that. And not to say that means that his speaker, gunshot theory is correct, but just to point that out that, there was something there. And again, these people were at the event, right? So they very well, even though he might not have elucidated it how we want to hear it in this speaker theory, but still, if he felt there might have been something suspicious, he was there that day going on with the speaker. Well, then, I do put a little bit of credence in that, not the theory, just that overall what happened might have been in some way connected with the way the audio was going and set up. I'll just leave it at that. Let's see. Bonnie. What Bonnie say? It shouldn't be this hard to figure out with so many people there and it's on video. Oh, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. And so I wanted to mention this to y'all. Maybe I did on another stream. The more and more I look at it and watch videos of, what happened that day, and really what cued me in on this was the Wolves and Finances video this last Sunday. I know y'all saw it, right? The one where he eventually ended up with this was military intelligence job. And, even though it didn't sound like he fully landed on the palm gun, this is what happened, seemed to really place a lot of weight into that theory. And in that, there's a lot of, and I think when he was showing it, they were showing somebody in the crowd, like giving, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we're looking at Frank Turek doing this, and we're looking at Dan Flood. I posit to you that there's very good, in my view, I think there's a probability that a lot of that might not have necessarily been integrated into what actually happened to Charlie, but that was integrated into the plan in order to throw us off how we're going, right? I think that these people who ultimately were behind this, again, I don't believe that Tyler Robinson did this, just my personal opinion, obviously. Whoever it might have been, I think we're very intelligent and knew that this thing was going to be highly filmed and put out there on the internet, tons of people seeing it, and intentionally had people doing things so that way when we go back over this video, we're always going to be going back and forth, like putting so much credit to this over this, but someone else looks at this more material. And so I have the impression, the gut feeling intuitively that in my intuition tells me that a lot of that stuff was intentionally done that way, even though it might not have not a single thing to do directly with whatever happened to Charlie Kirk that day. So I just wanted to put that out there for what it's worth. And maybe y'all are thinking the same thing. What's this? I don't know why this. Hold on. Let me pull the comments back. The guy using the, okay, there we go. No, yeah, Joe. So Joe made a good point here. Joe, appreciate it. Yeah, he's right. And I think I said this too, you're not going to want these witnesses to go up there speculating like that, or at least the witness that we're talking about. The other people weren't there. So yeah, they did engage in a lot of speculation. So, and believe it or not, if this person was to go to trial, it might not even be that long a testimony. Literally, who are you? Were you there that day? Give as much context around you being there, how you got there, all this, and like, what did you perceive? And that's it. As soon as they start to go into, I believe that this couldn't have come from this angle. No. Defense attorney wouldn't want to ask a question to go down that rabbit hole. But if they just started down that rabbit hole during direct examination, you'd want to cut them off. And again, maybe the defense wouldn't want them to come and be witnesses because of this video, because of all the speculation in that video, and the state could step up and try to make these people look like a crazy, kooky conspiracy theorist. Okay, so yeah, very good point. We would not want all that speculation, just your observations, just your perception, right? Let's see. Here goes Debbie. Terrell is 100% on it. Yeah, a lot of people, and we've obviously talked about Terrell Owens a lot on this. I say Terrell Farnsworth a lot on my channel. I'm not, again, I'm refraining from saying anyone is directly involved in whatever happened to Charlie per se, but what I will say is he was most definitely involved in messing with evidence. I'm not going to call it tampering, but definitely messing with the evidence, and removing some evidence, which from what I'm understanding, he's admitted to. And, I find it very odd with Terrell Farnsworth that, we have this sad video. I don't know what it was, what he did back there behind the selfie. And then, 2 minutes later, he's, looks to me like James Bond 007 out there looking around and doing that. Yeah. Very, very suspicious to me. And it was funny. I say it's funny. It's very ironic that here, this guy too is like, and maybe for different reasons, but still he's like, we need to look at the audio people who did that. So again, just throwing some data points out there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Now you're right, Joe. Speculations are not admissible, and maybe this guy went into too many in this video that he could be made to look bad at a trial if he was called to testify. Very possibly. Let's see. The videos will be assumed by a jury. I'm not real sure, Gene Splice, exactly what you're getting at here. I'll just pull it up. Just the videos will be assumed by a jury to be validated by officials as not AI, though no such validation ever occurs. So video evidence could be the linchpin. So I mean, yeah. So obviously, I would venture to say at this juncture, considering that the only direct video that could have possibly been acquired without having to be necessarily authenticated forensically. So I'll say this, like, generally, if the police would have been able to appropriately secure those cameras in and around Charlie, and again, properly secure them, document them, take them into custody, create a direct chain of custody. Now, just depending, maybe that might have been able to come in, possibly without being examined forensically. But the minute Terrell decided to remove the SD cards, move the cameras, and leave with them, yes, absolutely. That definitely is going to have to be forensically examined. And pretty much any video from any kind of witness or bystander in this case, I would just be hard pressed to think that either side would allow either side to bring in any video which they have not independently forensically verified. So I hope that got to your question, what you're getting at. Thank you for that. Yeah, let's see here. Let's see. Dariella. Yes, I heard about audio issues and that they tried the new sound system for the first time, trying something new. Yeah, I heard that too. And I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, that like they were streaming this to TPUSA headquarters, which was also there was a lot of new things that went down at this event here, from my understanding. And again, take that as you will. All the new things that I've heard of, this including what you're talking about, have come to me, seem to be suspicious to me in one way or another. And I'm not going to fully elaborate on that, but for what it's worth. Let's see. Apocalypse. The magic, the amazing Mikey McCoy walking away starts the suspect behavior. Yeah, you think? Yeah, man. On many different levels. I mean, one, it's like if that was your friend, and I've learned a lot more since this, obviously through Candace's and Bear and stuff, about like how they met and stuff like that. Now I realized that, like, they say they were good friends of Charlie's. But I think there's reason to believe, for sure, based on how they acted afterwards, but even just how their situation, I think there's reason to believe that was all fake. In my opinion, allegedly, based upon what I've heard and what I understand. Yeah, I think it was all fake. Yeah, and whenever you see someone turn around in the heat of a moment like that and bone out on you looking at their phone, like, it'd have been another thing if we saw it, for me, if we saw him run away scared, like, but like the dude more or less gently walked away on his phone. Like, yeah, no, that's very suspicious. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, and also too, I'll say this too, this whole thing that he was trained to call Erica if something happened, like, that is just so odd to me, man. That is so odd to me. No, if you're with me and something happens, like, please try to take care of me first. And you can definitely, yeah, please also get a hold of my wife if I'm unable to, but like, please take care of me first. Like, I think that's what she'd want too. Yeah. whenever your wife wants to be contacted before your well-being is secured, that's suspicious, right? Just so suspicious to me, anyways. Let's see. Here we go. Rob McCoy, Mikey's covered in blood. I think you're probably talking about figuratively as far as, you know, potentially being involved allegedly. My opinion. Yeah, I think so too. I really do. Let's see. What we got after 2 weeks? Project. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look at this. Project Constitution, and I think you meant to say Danks. Believe it was an EMP that took out everybody's pictures and stuff. Yeah. So I think that was the first time that I had any indication, or there was some allegations or suspicion that there was something like taking out phones or interference, was whenever, I think it was the second time that Al Geis came on to, I think, Trigger Smart, and was talking about obviously the audio workup for the event. And then I think it was some American university professor who wasn't named, stated that they believed there was some type of electronic interference, either from a drone or some other way. And yeah, I mean, I look, that definitely seems plausible to me. I definitely think the technology is there. I definitely think that, you know, planning this out, one would have to really account for all these videos and things, and really the audio, right? Because, you know, apparently the technology and expertise to do these audio reconstructions is so good now that, yeah, you would have to account for that if you're going to try to obfuscate the true cause of death, of the incident, right? So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, but Project Constitution and Danks, I definitely have no reason to disagree with their assessment there. I haven't seen anything that would for sure rule it out. I'll put it to you like that. Curious Scout 17, thank you very much for the membership. Very, very honored and blessed to have you. And yeah, Joe, thanks for working out the Joe knows what he's talking about. Joe knows the difference between speculation, talking about facts, stuff like that. And yeah, you know, you'd definitely be walking a very fine line with his testimony. But I did feel like this was a decent starting point for us to really start working these things out. And one thing I thought too is like, just, you know, because it goes into these other aspects, and because their testimony, or, you know, what he talks about really touches upon a lot of the other theories and stuff like that, I thought this would be fun to whip out and talk about. Say Al Geis lost me a bit when he went after John Bray's theory. I think John Bray's is correct with this theory. I'll say, like, I'm not subscribing to any theory, but I can just say that my overall impression, for what it's worth, right? For what it's worth, as an expert or attorney who's worked with experts of all different kinds and stuff, for some reason, like, John Bray's testimony just comes off really credible to me. Okay. And again, that's not, you know, it just the feel of his testimony. And yeah, you know, when I first heard it, I definitely, in the back of my mind, was really buying into it and was about to sell myself on it until I realized that don't do that. You know, don't do that. Don't sell yourself on 100%. But John Bray, for me, just comes off very credible and very likable. So, you know, as a trial lawyer, when you look at witnesses, right, you definitely got to be thinking, how's this person going to be perceived? Not that what they're saying is obviously very important, credible, but like, how are they going to be perceived? And, you know, for me, I've had in a lot of the cases I do, I have options of experts. Okay. And so, and this is just kind of general education right here. You know, we're talking about expert testimony. If you have a Rolodex of experts and you got options, so then you got like what we call a dog and pony show, which would be like pulling some kind of Harvard trained expert, top of the field upper echelon, what I call a dog and pony show, but those type of experts might not appeal to every jury, let's say in Texas or in Alabama or somewhere like that. In those instances, it would probably be better to get a local attorney, okay, or a more local expert from more local or state university, something like that. So I'm always thinking about these things, right? It's just natural second nature to me now. So when I was listening to John Bray, now I don't know, and this is definitely not to throw shade on John Bray, but I don't know of how much, like papered credentials that he has per se. But man, he just comes off super credible to me. Super credible. So yeah, I've been impressed with John Bray. I really have. And he just seems nice and humble, someone who would present well in front of a jury. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, okay. No, this is a good point. Gene Splice, very good point. I mean, really none of, that's a good point, man. Like, I mean, unless you're looking at a video that you personally took of this incident, or a video that has some kind of official chain of custody that you can 100% trust. Now, again, the other people can, and I need to admit that too, that, people out here in the world can do forensic evaluation of videos that they get online. I'm pretty sure. But otherwise, we're seeing a lot of videos and we don't really know 100% for sure whether all of them have not been manipulated or not. So I guess that's kind of the point that we're getting here, that we have to, we do. I know I do, because I don't know how to like pull these things up and tell whether it's been doctored or not. I really have to rely on representations from other people within the creator community and outside too. But no, that's a very good point, Gene Splice. Very good point. Let's go. America Broad. What did Joe say? Oh, Joe said this is very good testimony. Joe, now, Joe, are you being inconsistent with your prior testimony? I'm just playing with you. Why is my thing not working? Looks like I got another super chat, y'all. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, super chat member. Oh, Mystic Gypsy, thank you for your membership. Oh man, and I think you gave me a $20. Thank you very much, Mystic. I appreciate it. Y'all been incredible. Yeah, I'm not gonna break down right here. Thank y'all very much. Much love to y'all for sure. For sure. Hey, Greg, just stepping in real quick to say congrats on your success. I'll be in the rewatch crew. Thank you, Mystic. I guess you're not here. You'll see this recorded. God bless. Thank you very much. Yeah, man. Thank you. Y'all keep me motivated for sure. Thank y'all. Anyway, so we'll go back to the list here. Oh, yeah. I wanted to talk about Joe Lennox real quick. Joe. Oh, what are you? Hold on. What I see? Let's see. Oh, I went way back up. Hold on. Oh, Joe was giving them. Thank you, Joe. Yeah. So Joe was breaking down some examples in the chat of admissible versus inadmissible statements there. Yeah. Thank you, Joe. Very, very good. Yeah. And it looks like you did get it correct. Let's see. Damn. Did I go down this far? What the? Oh, wow. Okay. No. Okay, here we go. Joe says here, this is very good testimony. I assume you're talking about because I know earlier in the comments, Joe, in all fairness, you were like, oh, there's, a lot, and there was a lot of speculation, stuff like that. Then you go, this is very good testimony. So maybe you heard something that might have later on maybe rehabilitated this witness in your eyes. So yeah. Yeah, but thank you. I'll say very good witness. I think that, just for the simple facts of what he, because he can testify to his present sense impression that he believed that the sound to him sounded like it was coming from this direction below him, and that, his initial impression that it sounded like a firecracker. I do think that that would be appropriate, but again, he's also said a few things inconsistent with the firecracker, but still, it definitely could be useful. Again, the defense only has to do reasonable doubt. They don't have to go all the way to the end zone with their theories, right? Let's see. He goes, okay, here goes Lizard saying, this guy's a bit more pressured when giving description, which lines up with trauma response. Yeah, I mean, I'll just let you know my impression of, when he's giving that interview with his brother, it did, just my impression, human to human, it seemed to be pretty genuine to me. But look, there are very good, and I've been burned by tons of them. Trust me, there are very manipulative people out there that can make you believe that they are 100% insert needy, helpless, or traumatized, or smart, whatever. Very manipulative people out there. But I don't know, my impression just seeing him here seems to talking about hunting. So here's one thing. And Joe, that was obviously the main guy that was talking about hunting was the host. He wasn't there, but I do think that the other guy did kind of chime in about hunting. And that would be inadmissible because they're using the hunting to try to prove up what they think exactly happened. Okay, so apocalypse, objection. There you go. Let's see. I love what y'all are going back and forth here like a courthouse. Objection, and I love it. Approach the bench, Lizard. I love it. And let y'all know, I think this weekend I'm going to go into again, because moving in towards March 13th is going to be a hearing on the motions being private or not, and then the standing of the media to contest whether the motions are private. But I'm going to do some more insight. I've had a little bit more insight on the defense motion to exclude the media and cameras that I want to make a presentation on it. I know I've talked about it. More presentation on that, because I'm switching my opinion and perspective a little bit on what that is really getting at. And the overall, I think a lot of us have been in kind of an echo chamber here on YouTube and some of these other platforms where it's mostly independent media talking people. And I know for myself, I haven't been keeping up with what the mainstream media has been putting out there about Tyler. And so I want to, with that being said, I'm going to come back and talk about that media motion again. Let's see. Yeah, isn't that, let me look real quick. I got a super chat. Oh, new member, Moonchild. Hey, Apocalypse, both of y'all. Thank y'all very much. Glad y'all are members. We'll probably start as early as next week with some exclusive member content. And hopefully if one or more of y'all have my email, man, feel free to let me know if y'all have anything specific that y'all like to cover in that regard. And we absolutely certainly can. Let's see. Gene Splice brings up the amazing rifle situation. The Gene Splice, I think, has inadvertently identified these magical forces out there in Utah. It might have been having to do with Joseph Smith when he got there. Maybe these were some of the creatures he was originally communing with when he got out there. That just magically this rifle appeared. I certainly do believe it did magically appear. I find, obviously, we know factually the timeline through listening at the 911 testimony and all that, or the 911 call traffic. And then, so the timeline mixed with Valhalla VFT's distinct knowledge about the bomb sniffing dogs and how they operate, yeah, it got me pretty convinced that that rifle was not there until around 7 something p.m. The day of the on 9/10. Let's see. Let's see. And I'm kind of surfing through here, y'all. I'm not gonna lie, I've got to use the bathroom, but I'm gonna try to get to as many of these as possible. Okay, hold on. This is an interesting comment. Gene Splice. Defense is going to have evidence that TR wasn't even there. He can't argue line of sight, sir. The jury would still take it as guilty. I'm trying to make sense of that. I mean, look, I think that even if they don't have evidence that he wasn't necessarily there, I mean, I still think, yeah, that definitely there could be evidence Tyler was there, but still convince a jury that it wasn't him at this juncture. Yeah, I mean, and then if we talk a little bit more about on the, alternate theory side of it, I think that to the extent that Tyler could have been a patsy, that they probably would have had him there at least to show up to do something. Even obviously if it wasn't, getting up on that roof and taking a shot, like I still think that they might have had him there for something. So, but I still think regardless, the defense could still prove that, or I say prove, they don't have to prove. I think they could throw enough doubt still that it wasn't him. Just my opinion. Will they include all the police radio talk as evidence? Yeah. So will they include all the police radio talk as evidence that Tyler was not the? Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Now they will want to get official copies. So, teaching moment. In order to get the official 911 tapes in, really they should be in the discovery file. But if they're not, you can make a discovery request to the prosecutor to release those, and then there shouldn't be any issue, right? Because the state's releasing those to you, and you're presenting the trial. There shouldn't be any authentication issues with those, and so it should be fairly easy. And yes, absolutely, they're going to want to play all the 911. I would play all the 911 tape because it really creates it creates a much different narrative than what you're hearing in the information currently on file. So yeah, they definitely would want to have those up there. Let's see. I get another. Oh, all right. Oh, Apocalypse Now with a super chat. Thank you very much, Apocalypse. Oh, YouTube Premium, no commercials. Amen. I will. Yeah. And look, I promise. You should have seen my wife, because apparently she has it on her phone. And so she's not been watching commercials this whole time. I have. And yeah, when I last night she saw me cycling through them. She's like, what? She's like, you're a YouTube content creator and you're like watching commercials. I was like, yeah. I thought. She's like, no. She's like, you can get, I think it's $10 a month premium account. Now I got the fun. I definitely get it. Thank y'all. But let me say this though, in my defense, and it's not because I'm cheap. I promise you. I definitely don't mind spending the money. And I also look, three memberships. I need to do the StreamYard membership. I'm going to do the YouTube Premium, and I need to do the official X on Twitter as well, X. So yeah, thank you very much. But I will say this: it's been very interesting watching the commercials that they put on certain videos, because if a lot of y'all haven't been watching commercials, man, they got, commercials trying to convince people to support Israel in many different ways. And you're starting to see the political campaign commercials now. So there has actually been some interesting commercials in that sense of overall this investigation and the political situation going on. But yeah, I think over the whole course, I think there's been like one or two commercials where I've actually thought about purchasing something. So thank you very much. I will get a premium membership, and I have multiple YouTube accounts, and so I can still get on those and see the commercials if interested. Let me see. Did I go too far now? Oh down far enough. Man, I don't know if the comments are growing on here or what. Let's see. Man, let me go back up. It's weird. It's like the comments are okay. There we go. Maybe that's what it is. Okay. Okay, there. Now I'm back to where I was. Let's see. Yeah, so I talked about the police evidence, the 911 evidence. They're definitely going to want to put that in. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, here goes Curious Scout. Because he is not the only witness to talk about no security and people just being able to walk in and not get their bags checked upon entry. Okay, so again, yeah, so I would figure that I'm sure there's a ton of eyewitnesses that were there that day that could probably testify to that. I mean, a lot of them I assume were students who've gone to other events there that could also as well. So yeah, it's like, I'm glad we heard that from him today, and good for comparison and understanding context. But yeah, I mean, I hope y'all didn't think I was representing that like we would actually like need him to get that fact into evidence, and to the extent that the defense would even want to bring in a fact like that, because obviously that could be taken as, oh, well, it must have been easy for Tyler to pull this off with no security and police there. So that might have been, that could very well be a double-edged sword for the defense potentially. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you, Lizard. I appreciate it, brother. He said good show. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, so Lizard says here he's going to get out of Turkey on the 12th. Thank God. I pray for your safe flight, brother. I hate that all this had to go down during this time, man. I really do. And then here we got Steve Busam. Sorry if I'm saying that. Busam. Please check out Jason Goodman at Crowdsource the Truth. Charlie was shot from behind. Okay. Yeah, I know you're Jason Goodman. I know there's definitely been some drama with Jason, with other creators, I think. Again, I'm not jumping into the middle of it by any stretch, or picking sides in that whole thing. But yeah, I definitely check it out, because I know, I saw Jason for the first time on, I believe it was, whose show was it, man? Was it Trigger Smart? I think Trigger Smart might have brought him in first. And then I saw some clips from his members only live with Barron. And then, yeah, I haven't really checked in with him since then. So we'll do Crowdsource the Truth. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Let's see. Tyler is the modern day Lee Harvey Oswald. Yes, indeed. Oh, so here goes an interesting comment here. Because I agree with this. This is from Swimpliver. Sorry, SWMPLVR. Didn't sound like a gunshot on the videos I have seen. And I agree with that. I agree. It did sound like a firecracker to me on pretty much all the videos I can remember watching with that sound. But I got to be fair in that I do realize too that guns that sonic boom or crack, so there's things that can make a gunshot sound differently depending on the context of where it's shot, like in a bowl, like the area, kind of like they were talking about in that video. And so, I'm not going to say the fact that it sounded more like a firecracker to me completely rules out that could be a gunshot. But yeah, it did. It's just my impression. It did sound like a firecracker, for sure. Oh, Elena showed up late. Hey, Elena, good to have you though. Hopefully you can, go back and check out the recording. Everything will be good. This has been a great live. I enjoyed this, man. I'm loving it. I'll definitely, I'll be kind of holding here by myself, probably most of the weekend, probably. Maybe. I think my wife. I don't know. But otherwise, I've got some lives. I think me and Adam are going to be together tomorrow, and then I'll probably do something Saturday, Sunday. So yeah, man, we're going to keep this train rolling for sure. Let's see. Oh, this is a good comment. Apocalypse. I think the powers that be are horrified that there's sort of so many unanticipated holes, and their internet sleuths are right on their asses. I agree. I agree, right? And again, on this show, I have definitely not delved into trying to point fingers at anybody per se. I'll definitely say when I think a person's kind of suspicious, I definitely will say that. Who are the powers that be that are behind this? I don't know for sure. I'm not going to speculate on that. I do have some ideas. But yeah, I do believe that, we've gotten over the, I say we, definitely other creators, content creators and experts and people in our sphere have gotten over the target. I think it has made some people nervous, whoever those powers that be are. I think in response, they've done things through the media to try to, scare Tyler Robinson, right? I think the whole death penalty statute is a ruse thing. I think they're trying to scare Tyler Robinson into a plea deal because, it's getting to the point where the whole narrative in this information, I don't have it on my desk right now, is falling flat on its face, in my opinion. And yeah, I think that they're trying to do countermeasures, I guess you could say, to try to throw us off and prevent the truth from getting out there. Just my opinion, based on my perception. Not specifically pointing the fingers at anyone necessarily. And, I do hope, because I don't believe Tyler Robinson was responsible for whatever happened. I do hope the people who are held responsible, right? I do, for sure. No, I haven't got a haircut yet, Susan. I am going to get a haircut here probably pretty soon. I'm probably going to do just right here, neck length for a number of reasons. But yeah, I'm definitely going to get a haircut for a bit. Just so you know, I always have the hippie spirit in me. Let's see. Here we go. Lizard, I think Barron's theory that there were many things happening on that day covered all bases, lots of mystery. Yeah, man. I think there was intentionally a lot going on that day, right? I think that it was, even though we are getting over the target, I feel things like that. I do think that, it was expected, obviously, that we would be doing a lot of speculating, theorizing and stuff. I think that where it went beyond what was expected is really a lot of these people developing these theories out as far as they have, and as just consistent, hardcore as they've been, not letting this die. I don't think that was all expected. I don't think, and moreover, independent media has been growing. I think just in the time since the Charlie Kirk incident, independent media and creators on YouTube and like Candace Owens and these podcasts, I mean, I think it's grown since then. I don't know if that was certainly, I don't think that was necessarily in the plan. And it's funny how all this stuff feeds on each other a lot, right? That like that event caused this, which is then coming back to bite the powers that be in the behind. Yeah, it's pretty incredible thing. I mean, I hope we all make it through this good and in one piece, and the people are held responsible, and that this will be a learning lesson in history books for time immemorial. To be honest with you, there's so much to learn through this, right? So here we go. So very good. Gene splice. In an actual conspiracy, you want as many different plausible theories as possible out there. It makes them harder to discern. That hit the nail on the head. And again, that's also why I'm trying to stay as neutral and objective as possible in my own personal assessment and beliefs on it. And Joe Lennox is right. The court isn't going to allow speculative theory. So again, that's why I'm saying if you want to, get an acquittal, I mean, unless now they will allow a theory if it's well developed enough, and there's enough out there to make it for a reasonable juror to believe that more likely than not this is what happened, yeah, you can go to court and advance it, but you got to be very careful with it. And so that's why, again, this episode was really, in future episodes, will really be focusing on just undercutting the narrative's facts. So, and I'll just reiterate it. Today, we're looking at this witness statement because of the gentleman's perception that the sound was more like a firecracker and that it came from below, more towards the stage, not the top of the low C center. So that's why we're doing that today. Well, we do know he wasn't shot by a 30-06 Mauser. I think that is pretty firmly established. I think that's pretty firmly established, right? And so obviously the prosecution will definitely want to try to discount that fact with, for instance, testimony that we heard today, at least parts of it, right? Oh, Elena, there were so many decoys that day. It was meant to make it difficult to know what happened. I mean, without question, I certainly do feel that. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people gets lost on them from time to time. So hopefully, us keeping mentioning stuff like that, yeah. And so Lisette talking about these other cases with Ty Robinson's attorney, I will be looking at them for sure. Just as soon as I get some time. No, absolutely. Yeah, Debbie. These comments keep coming up, y'all. I think I'm going to have to thank you, Lizard. I appreciate it. Look, I've really got to use the bathroom. I've been talking for a couple hours. I apologize if I didn't get to your comment today, y'all. I really do. For those who really, really want me to, consider and possibly, opine on in a different episode, or maybe even do an episode on what you wanted to point out, feel free to email me. I'd be glad. I try to answer as many emails as I can. I really do. I will try to do that as long as I can. I do realize that there's going to come a point where, I'm going to have to probably limit most of my commenting to supers and stuff like that, which would be great to, get a membership, because I do plan for memberships, like dead set once a week. I'm going to be doing a members live stream starting next week, for sure, at least one. And then just depending on how that goes, how good it is, how many members I got, I might do multiple. And I'll probably be doing if I do videos, members will be able to see them ahead of time, things like that. So yeah, for sure, consider getting a membership, because I'm definitely going to do the thing with that for sure. I've had a Patreon account. 800. I've had a Patreon. Again, I'm an attorney. I do religious free exercise cases. And so I've had a Patreon where, and I do like 400 a month, 400 a month on my Patreon over there. I've got like over 100 lectures on there. I was, of course I wasn't the most consistent with it like I have been here, but so I've been doing a membership thing for a while. And I learned a lot of lessons over there. So I'm going to be applying that knowledge to my membership here, and definitely make it worthwhile. Absolutely. Because, and one thing I'll say too, for I boost out here is, I realize that the content that I'm doing, starting from the bottom up, and it doesn't look like any of the bigger creators are going to throw me any bones, which is fine. God bless them. Because Barron did some episodes and he had done some incredible research, right, with the Google search stuff. I remember when I watched it, when Ian, oh my God, incredible. He deserves every bit of it. Absolutely. With that research. But, I haven't been doing as much like breakthrough investigation stuff like that. So yeah, I'll probably be on the slow growth path. It's okay. But with that, I'll really be leaning into my memberships and leaning in doing these lives and bringing good content to you. So yeah, it'd be worth checking out the membership for sure. Let me see. Yeah, man, just a lot of stuff. Yeah, I've got to use the restroom, and yeah. Anyways, much love, y'all. God bless. I appreciate it. I thought this went really, really well today. I think Adam and I are going to have a live tomorrow evening. I think at least part of our conversation is going to be about Gary from Paramount Tactical failing to live up. I mean, he invited Adam onto his show for Adam to talk to him about, Adam was, discussing and theorizing why Gary was going so hard after Candace and they didn't like it. And I think I'm right about this, and that Adam, he commented, hardly anybody had commented under this video of Adam's. I think it might have just been Gary comment, well, blah, blah, come talk to me on the show. And Adam's tried to go on the show, and I think Adam definitely deserves to be able to go on his show and talk to Gary about it, and just nothing's come through despite making posts about it, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think tomorrow during our live, we're going to just discuss it. And again, it doesn't mean we're going to be there like throwing shots at Gary or talking down about Gary, but just talking about the whole situation with Candace, us doing our investigation, what Gary and the people on that side have kind of been saying, and talk about that. But it's not going to be a Gary Slam Fest, none of that stuff. But we are going to just discuss that and I think a few other cool things too. So hopefully y'all can join us for that. And otherwise, I think I'll be back Saturday. So anyways, thank y'all very much. My heart's very much full. God bless each and every one of you. And another thing, if you had a comment I didn't get to, comment below once this post, and I'll definitely be following up there. So just remember that. So anyways, much love. Thank y'all very much. If you haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe. This is the Entheogenic Esquire podcast YouTube channel. I am attorney Greg Lake signing out. I will see y'all soon. Peace.